What's up, guys? Jeremy Weiss here with Weiss Tech Hockey, and in this video we're going to get into a little bit of coaching philosophy. So as a coach, every once in a while I like to take a step back, kind of pull out and try to give a self-assessment, look at things from almost like an overhead point of view and just say, how are my methodologies working? How's my development working with my players? Is there a better way I could deal with problem A, B, or C? Is there a better way I could take player from point A to point B? And, I like to kind of take a step back and just kind of see, is there any room for improvement in the way that I'm doing it? Can I improve the way I'm thinking about this situation? So anyways, I do that quite regularly, and often on the drives to and from the rink or whatever else as I'm thinking about the teams that I'm working with and whatnot. But there's been something on my mind lately that I figured I'd share with you guys. It might be beneficial for you, but what I wanted to say before we dive in is anytime you get into hockey philosophy, there are literally like thousands of different opinions, thousands of ways of doing things. Often there's multiple ways of doing things the right way, or doing things in an effective way. So there's lots of different ways to make this work, lots of different ways to be an effective coach. And part of being a good coach is taking what you see from other places, from other coaches, and then molding it into your own personality and presenting it to your players in your own way. And so, there may be something I say today that resonates with you that you say, I can grab a hold of that and insert it into my team, use that in my coaching. There may be other things that, as we get into this, that you say, I get what he's saying, but I like the way I'm doing it better. And that's totally fine. As a coach, that's what you're doing. It's all about figuring out, how am I going to be the most effective coach for me, for the players that I'm working on, based on my own personality, my own strengths and weaknesses, and the players that I'm working with. What's the best possible package I can put together for these players to keep them developing? So having said that, what I want to talk about today is what I call the backbone elements of hockey development. Okay. Now, what I mean by backbone is these are like the central key elements that if we develop them well, we're going to use these elements to develop our curriculum for our individual skills. We're going to use these elements as foundational elements to springboard when it's time to start working on details. So these core elements are the things that really kind of shape the look of our development program. So what are they? In my mind, the key, backbone elements of development are, we start, if you've listened to me before, I like to start with the positional elements first, and then, like I said, I work backwards to decide the skill development, and then I work forwards to decide the detail stuff. So let's talk about this. And it would be helpful if I had if I could do like a diagram, but we're just gonna wing it here. Defensive zone coverage, breakout, offensive attack structure, regroups, and forecheck. So there's 5 things. Okay, those 5 things. What I say is I start with those 5 things. Now, you're not going to be able to work on them all at the same time. So you got to pick which ones are going to make the most sense, what you're going to start with. So let's just say I'm going to start with my defensive zone first. So I'm going to start with D-zone coverage and breakouts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay that foundation. That's my foundational starting point. Now from there, that foundation needs to have, footings, right? Or pillars that hold up that foundation. Well, what are the pillars that are going to hold up? What are the skills? The pillars are the skills. Okay? So we've got our floor here, but then we need to have, a strong base underneath that of skills. So in order to perform a good breakout, you've probably heard me use this example before. What are the key foundational skills that need to be in place for a team to be able to properly, perform a decent breakout? Well, there's got to be skating abilities. There's got to be agility. There's got to be quick turns, power turns and stops and starts, both directions. Puck handling abilities under pressure for the D-man, giving and receiving passes under pressure, of course. There are timing elements involved. There's support concepts that need to be taught. So as we go through this, there are coaches that say, hey, forget about the positional game. It should be skills at the younger age groups. And I say, yes, it should be skills at the younger age groups. But those skills need to be driving to where are they going to be driving to? They got to be driving to a purpose, to a goal. And at the beginning, if we're starting with defensive zone first, which that's where I like to start, but that doesn't mean that that's where you have to start. You might say, hey, we want to take the first to 10 goals approach, and we want to focus everything on our offense first because that's fun. The kids are going to get scoring goals. We'll worry about defense later. No problem. That's fine too. You can adjust it. Whatever fits your needs as a coach, adjust it. I'm just kind of laying out the philosophy here. So we take, that first core element, right? The defensive zone, D-zone coverage and breakout. And we say, okay, what are the foundational pillars of skill levels or skills that need to be in place for us to be able to properly perform a functional breakout? And then that's where our starting point is. So we're going to work on our skating. We're going to work on our agility. We're going to work on our puck control. We're going to work on our passing, giving and receiving passes. We're going to, introduce some timing elements. We're going to introduce some support concepts. All these things. As we get into defensive zone, we're going to do, we'll talk about net front battles and pressuring and, explosive speed, getting out to the points fast. All those different little things, those all require a strong base of physical skills to be able to perform any positional element of the game. Okay. So as we go through that, we start, for me, I start with the defensive zone. And then, the next level would be, if we break the puck out properly, then we're going to have an offensive attack. So that would be the next thing for me is developing a strong offensive attack. Well, what are the elements that need to be in place for an offensive attack? Well, we need to be good at driving wide and cutting to the net. So I call that drive skating, right? That's where you have that, 5 or 6 quick crossovers as you're driving wide and then cutting hard through the defenseman to the net. So drive skating with a puck. Again, passing elements come in. We want to be working on, the cross ice pass to the backdoor man. We want to have some elements of, practice on the drop passes. If we have a trailer man coming in, we want to have, again, support and timing are huge on this. So we want to get our F1 driving wide, F2 going to the net, F3 coming in late. Or if you have a different scheme that you like to set up, I like to start with the attack triangle as a starting point with kids. But of course, as they get older, you can get more advanced. But we're going to lay that. That's the next foundational element, right? That's the next floor in our foundation. So we're always assessing. And you can take a look at it and say, is our breakout happening? No. Okay, well, why not? Well, because our defense, they're good puck controllers, but they can't do it under pressure. They cough up the puck under pressure. That's the main issue. So that's what, again, that's going back and that's helping you determine what you're going to work on next. Right? So we lay those foundations a piece at a time, right? Defensive zone, offensive attacks. And then the next level would be, I would probably say regroups, right? Or maybe forecheck. We could probably go forecheck next and then regroups next. Okay. And then pretty soon you've got, 5 strong floors based on a whole lot of columns, a whole lot of pillars of individual skills, because you're not just introducing systems for the sake of systems. You're introducing systems a piece at a time to help you establish your individual skill curriculum, okay? And this is how you develop systems and skills simultaneously. This is how you can get yourself to the point where not only are you the smartest team and the most disciplined team and the best systems team, but you're also the fastest, and you've also got the best shots, and you've also got the best skating abilities and passing abilities and stick handling abilities. You've also got, you've got that foundational skill base that is supporting your main floors of, what I call those backbone elements of hockey development. So depending on the age group and the skill level that you're working on and how many years you've had with those players, this is going to take a few years at least to work on, to develop, to lay those 5 foundational elements. Now, once you have that backbone laid, once you have those 5 backbone elements laid, now all of a sudden you've got the fundamental positions in place. Like they're playing a solid forecheck. They're doing a solid regroup. They're attacking the zone with, multiple waves of attack. And they've got, the support that they need. Those elements are in place. The skills beneath them are in place. Now comes time for the detail work. So now is where the fun starts. Now is where, you can start implementing some of those other pieces, the detail, face-off plays, set face-off plays, offensive zone face-off plays. That's where you can start introducing, creative ways of playing a 2-on-1 or a 2-on-2, where you get some crisscrosses, or you drive the zone and then instead of driving straight to the net, you hit the brakes and set up a cycle. You can start getting into crisscrossing through the offensive zone, give and goes out of the corner. You can start implementing various options on the breakouts, various options on the regroups. You can start getting into some of those, special team situations, and those detail works. You're building those on top of the floor. So you get your 5 floor key items, the backbone. You've got the supporting skills beneath them, and now once that is there, Now all of a sudden the players are going to pick these skills up, these new details. They're going to pick up the details like crazy, really, really fast. The skills increase exponentially once you achieve that, that foundational level, the backbone elements of hockey development. So that's kind of your goal for the first 3 or 4 years that you're working with a program, is get that, the bottom 2/3 of that structure established, right? The floor elements and then the footings beneath them of skills. Once you get to that point, now all of a sudden you've got kids that are capable of executing the fundamental skills. You've got kids that are capable of playing the fundamental positioning game. And now all of a sudden you're just adding, little tweaks and little adjustments to the game. And that's where it starts all of a sudden just really blossoming and really exploding in terms of their development. And it's a lot of fun to see. So the reason why this was on my mind is because I've noticed this. And like I said, if you're working with a whole group of, young AAA guys where you're on the ice, numerous times during the week and you've got a lot of time with them, you might progress this through. If you're working with a rec program where you've got a pretty good, top 2/3 of the team, but you've got some beginners at the bottom third, this might be a little bit slower process. But generally speaking, it'll take 3 to 5 years for you to really get that base laid. And if you do it right, you can get it done by by their Pee Wee year, maybe a little bit earlier, depending on when you start with these players. But then all of a sudden you get to that point where now you're laying in, little tweaks and little details and little adjustments that's just making their game that much more effective. And they're smart enough to do it. They've got the skills to do it, and they're, capable of being creative within a structure. And it works beautifully well. So we're seeing that right now with the Pee Wee team that I'm coaching, and that's what got me thinking about this in the first place. I was kind of, like I said at the beginning, I took a step back a little bit, was sort of doing a self-assessment and an assessment of not only myself but of the team and their progress over the years. And I said, you know what? All of a sudden we've turned a corner here, and all of these foundational elements that we've been laying over the last few years, they're looking great. They're maintaining puck control. They're maintaining they're maintaining the zone in the offensive end. It's hard to break out against them. All these different things, and we're adding tweaks and adjustments to the game that are being picked up like crazy. Like it's hey, try this, and they do it, and they do it well. So it's fun to see. Anyways, that's kind of my 2 cents worth as far as that goes. But think about it. And like I said, there might be some element of this that makes sense to implement into your coaching, but that is the way that I've been thinking about, my own team's curriculum over the past few years. And it has worked beautifully well. And it's interesting to see the different phases of development, because now that I've got more kids, when my oldest was young, I only had 2 boys. Now we've got 4 boys, and they're all at different age groups. So I've got a U12, a U10, a U8, and then my youngest is still hasn't quite started yet. He's still doing Learn to Skate. But you can see what we're doing. You can see the system in play, the development system in play at every one of these age groups. And it's beautiful. It's fun to see. I'm enjoying it, and hopefully that helps. So that's it for this video. Take care, and of course, let me know any thoughts that you've had during this video in the comments section, and that'll do it for today. So take care. We'll be back again soon with more information that'll help you improve your game. And for more stuff like this, make sure you visit us at weisstechhockey.com.